Welcome, everybody, to Survive in Advance on the Gruely True Sports Network. I am your co-host for Survive in Advance on another Panic Monday in the NFL, Mike Goodpaster. And right now I want to welcome in my co-host. First up, a member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, the 1981 national champion with the Indiana Hoosiers, maybe the greatest rep Pfizer's ever had. Also, generally just a wonderful human being, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing wonderful this morning, Mike.
All right. I thought with
Anthony,
that glowing endorsement of you, I figured that I would get at least a little response back.
I can't top that. It was stellar.
All right. And next up,
I think by now, with the 190,000,000 listeners you say we have, people would already know everything you already say, though.
Yeah, but there's always somebody new that's thinking, who the hell is Steve Risley? All right, guys, next up from the FF Faceoff, which you can hear on thegirlytruth.net and on YouTube, help me welcome to the show a man who's a Dallas Cowboys fan, but we still respect his opinion, Anthony Cervino. How you doing, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm doing great, and I'm really, really looking forward to tonight's game.
Yeah, okay. Nobody else is, but let's start off.
Come on. You know, they traded for Amari Cooper going on 13 days ago or 14 days ago. And when you're a fan, you get really, really anxious to see, how the new player, especially when he's supposed to be a superstar, is going to play.
Yeah. All right. So we'll start off talking about the Rams.
That trade happened like hours after you did the last show you did with us, didn't it?
Absolutely did.
We literally hung up the phone from doing the last show. And all of a sudden they announced that Amari Cooper's been traded. And I felt like, God, we missed that one for you.
Well,
listen, if there's anything Jerry Jones did right was the fact that he made the trade. He didn't wait. He didn't wait and mess around. He made the move, a week before their bye week. So really, Amari Cooper's had 2 weeks to prepare.
Well, I think this. If he is the Amari Cooper of his rookie season, it's worth it. If he's not, then it's not. So it's a huge gamble, but you might as well try something. I mean, they're in the NFC East, which is winnable for anybody in it outside of the New York Giants. But we'll talk about the Cowboys and the Texans at the end of their Cowboys and the Titans at the end of the show. We're going to start off with the Rams-Saints, which was the biggest game of the year so far. The Saints win the game 45-35 in a shootout. Drew Brees 25 for 36, 346 yards, 4 touchdowns. Anthony, are the Saints to beat, or the team to beat now in the NFC?
Going into this game yesterday, I thought the Rams were the cream of the crop in the NFL. But in recent weeks, we've seen cracks in the foundation. The Green Bay Packers could have beaten them. Their defense wasn't playing shutdown defense all season. And for them to go into New Orleans and take they really took a beating. I don't think that game was as close as the scoreboard. The Saints were the superior team, and I think they're going in the right direction as a team to beat.
All right, and I've been saying all along I thought the Saints were the best team. Steve could back me up on this. So my question is this, Steve. Is the home field advantage that important to the Saints? Because I think when you look at these two teams, if they play each other in New Orleans, I'm always going to favor New Orleans. If they play in L.A., I think it's probably more of a toss-up.
Oh, I think home field advantage is always important in the NFL, and I don't consider this a major upset. I mean, the Rams were due to be picked, and the Saints are one of the two best teams in the NFC, along with Los Angeles. I mean, this was a toss-up game to begin with. Right now, Drew Brees is playing phenomenal football, and the Rams the bullseye on their back is so big, being undefeated, and playing at that high level every single game, every single week is not easy for anybody to do in any sport, period. And it's not a surprising loss to me whatsoever, and I don't think it diminishes the strength of the Rams. I still think the Rams are the team to beat in the NFC. depending on where they play. I mean, if they end up not getting home field advantage, they're going to struggle more as the Soul Saints if they have to go back to LA and play, if that becomes the NFC Championship game. So it was a toss-up game. It was a fun game to watch, but it's not a big surprise the way the Saints were playing. And we move on. Neither team got hurt by the loss, really, or the Rams didn't get hurt. They're still going to win their division, and they're still one of the two best teams in the NFC.
Well, I think they're the two best teams in the NFL, Anthony, from everything I've seen.
Yeah, you could certainly make a case for it, but I think there are a few teams in the AFC that would, want to contest that statement.
I think there's only one, the Patriots.
Are you overlooking the Chargers a little bit?
No, because actually I had the Chargers pick to play the Saints in the Super Bowl, and I think it still could happen. But I think when you look at these teams match up, the Chargers are the only team that really matches up with them. I give the Patriots advantage because they got Brady and Belichick.
You're just rooting for the Chargers now because you become a Sean McCocken fan.
I don't know who Sean McCocken is.
Sean Cocken, or your tight end.
Come on, try again. Maybe the third time will be a charm for the illiterate Hoosier. It's Sean Calkin. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings either because I could feel a little tear. And Steve, I picked the Chargers, Saints at the start, but I really... Anthony,
you did.
When I look at, the Chiefs, I just don't think... I think in the end, the Chiefs' defense is what's going to bite them in the ass. The Rams and Saints' offenses may even be better than the Chiefs, and I think the Rams and Saints' defenses are both better than the... So I think in the long run... You play in a Super Bowl with basically a rookie quarterback against Drew Brees, I think you're going to have issues.
You say all this about the Chargers, and we're not even bringing up the fact that Joey Bosa has yet to play it down this year. And I just saw a report this morning saying that there is an outside shot that Hunter Henry, their star tight end, can return.
Well,
if they get Hunter and Bosa back, forget about it. I don't know if anybody in the AFC is beating the Chargers.
But still, we have the question of the Chargers in the playoffs. Just like if the Bengals get into the playoffs, we got the question with them. Or the Cowboys, you have the question with them. Or even the Chiefs right now, just because of how many times they've started off looking like the best team in the NFL over the last 5 or 6 years and then flamed out. So, once again, I think the Chargers are a better team when completely healthy than the Patriots. But I still don't know if I could ever pick them over the Patriots in a playoff game. And the problem is, with the schedule the Patriots have in the division they're playing in, the Chargers are going to have to go to New England if they do play that game in the playoffs. Anthony.
Okay.
So you like New England to ultimately win because they have the Brady and the Belichick advantage. I get it, but not this year. I feel like that the Patriots they'll eventually stumble a little bit, and Joey Bosa and the Chargers pass rush, I think they can get to Brady. I heard a stat in last night's game that Brady, he's only being blitzed, I think, around 12% of the time, which is ridiculously low. If you send pressure and you can get to Brady, as the Giants have showcased in the past, I think it could be a different outcome.
No, wait a second. They got pressure with their front four. If the Chargers can get pressure with their front four,
Pressure's pressure.
No, it isn't. Because if you blitz Tom Brady, he's going to beat you. I mean, he's just going to check down, and he's going to pick you apart.
Melvin Ingram are talented enough to get there.
Who?
Bosa and Melvin Ingram.
Yeah, but I think it is crazy to think you should blitz him, because if you're blitzing him with the Chargers, you're taking yourself out of position and you're letting him pick you apart quickly. If you look at that Giants team, the reason the Giants beat him the first time was because they had maybe the deepest defensive line we've seen in NFL history. I mean, they went 6 or 7 guys deep and just kept coming after him. That was the difference in that game.
No, you're absolutely right there.
Yeah, and the Giants, if I remember right, I don't remember hardly any blitzes in that game. Because I think the way to beat Pittsburgh is to basically blitz Ben Roethlisberger from the outside, keep him in the pocket, and make him make a throw. Because history will show you, if you give him a lot of times he's going to try to overextend himself and make throws that he shouldn't attempt to make. Where if you let him get outside of the pocket on you, he's going to kill you. And in the end, I do like the Chargers. And the only teams that have beaten the Chargers are the Chiefs and the Rams. So I think we'll find out a lot about the Chiefs when they go to L.A. in a couple weeks, Steve.
Yeah. I can't figure the Chiefs out. I mean, I think they're good. I think it's a different year for them. I think Mahomes is a real deal, and I think this could be a little different run for them in the playoffs. It's going to be an interesting playoffs. It's going to be really fun because I think the teams you're talking about right now, the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Patriots, all three are pretty equal right now. I got to give the edge to New England just because they've been there, done that before. But I don't think I'm seeing a Chargers team or a Chiefs team that's going to have a playoff meltdown this year. I think it's going to be a dogfight. And I'll tell you the other team that's coming up too, and we'll talk about them, I'm sure. The Steelers are starting to look awfully good.
See, I just don't buy that. I don't buy that. I don't buy any team outside of those three winning the AFC.
They beat the Ravens. And they beat the Ravens. They keep winning, and that's Steeler football. They just keep winning.
Yeah, until they
find ways to win more than any team in the NFL.
But Mike Tomlin coaches them, and they don't find ways to win against the New England Patriots. I don't think they would find a way against the Chargers. The Chiefs have already beaten them. I think the team that's more interesting to me, if we're going to talk about somebody that could sneak in there, Anthony, to me, is the Houston Texans, because I think this is a team that Deshaun Watson, I think, is a good quarterback. They've got a little bit of a running game, not much yesterday. DeAndre Hopkins, Demaryius Thomas at wide receiver, and they've got a good defense. So I think as this season goes on, they may not be playing great right now, but I think the key to the Texans is they have played not their best football, and they're still 6-3.
Yeah, the Texans, they can certainly surprise. They have enough firepower on the offensive side of the ball to make a run. I like what they did at the trade deadline by replacing Will Fuller with Demaryius Thomas. There was no way they could have competed in the AFC without making a move like that. And they're going to get Devonta Foreman back, who is expected to be their starting running back. But Lamar Miller, he keeps playing better and better as the season goes on. So, yeah, the Texans have the pieces in place to make a run.
All right, Steve, what's your take on the Texans? I know they're in the Colts division, and the more they win, the more it looks like the Colts aren't going anywhere. But what's your take on the Texans?
I think they're a second-tier team compared to the other three we've talked about. I mean, they barely eked out a win over the Broncos yesterday. I just think they're just too volatile up and down.
Well, remember this, though. The Broncos almost beat the Chiefs at home. So you're winning a game on the road in the NFL against a team that's not terrible. I still think it's a quality win, just like the Chiefs' win was, even though it took them to the last minute to get it there.
Yeah, I think any win in the NFL right now is a quality win because we're heading to playoff.
Not if you're playing Oakland.
So, well, they'll give you that. Okay, there's one exception. All right. I don't think the Texans are in the league with the Chargers, the Chiefs, or the Patriots. I think that they'll win their division easily because it's an easy division to win. But I think they'll be a doormat when it comes to playoff time. I don't think there's anybody to challenge.
See, I think this, Anthony, when I look at them, is I don't think they're anywhere near the level of those other three teams either. But just what you talked about with San Diego is the same thing with Houston. If their defensive line is healthy, they can get after the quarterback, which gives you a chance to win the game against anybody.
Yeah, and it's all on, J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney, Whitney Merciless. I love the Texans' defense, and they certainly missed J.J. Watt last year. I mean, those who want to say J.J. Watt isn't the same player, he took a step back, that's fine and all good, but he won multiple Defensive Player of the Year, so even J.J. Watt at 85 to 90% is better than what the NFL is putting out there a lot of the cases.
Yeah, and then Steve talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They beat the Baltimore Ravens 23-16. And number one, I'm going to start off with Anthony here, and then I'm going to go with Steve and something he brought up last week. But the Baltimore Ravens, to me, are a team that's dead in the water, Anthony.
Yeah, I liked the Ravens a lot coming in, but something's not right. I don't know if this is just your usual midseason slump from Joe Flacco and the team that Harbaugh is putting out there, but now you're seeing reports come out that Harbaugh's job could be in trouble if they don't start winning games. I do see a quarterback change coming, and that's something I wasn't saying through the first month of the season. The Ravens, I think one more loss and they're done.
Yeah, and I think this, Steve, I I don't think you can blame this on Joe Flacco. I think you blame it on the fact that their offensive line is atrocious. They have no running game at all. If you look at Flacco, he was 23 for 37, 206 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. But you brought up something about the two-quarterback system last week. I disagreed because I didn't see him using them that way. But the thing that stood out to me yesterday is their second drive, Flacco makes a throw for a first down, and then they immediately bring Lamar Jackson in to hand the ball off. And I think this is stupid. And also, I'll get both your opinions on this. I don't think Lamar Jackson is anywhere near ready to be a quarterback in the NFL.
No, I said all along. I think that's a death case in the NFL. It's just platoon quarterbacks. You know, we talked about that. I stick by my story, and I didn't see that game. Because we're on the West Coast, so we don't get the East Coast games out here other than on Red Zone, so you don't see every play happening. But I think you've got to make a call. You got to stick with who you're going to stick with. But that's probably their biggest downfall is this platooning of quarterbacks. I think I said that last week, and I stand by what we say. You've got to go with Flacco. You got to stay with him. I agree with you. I don't think Lamar Jackson's ready. I don't think he's as good a thrower as Flacco or passer. Whatever you want to say, thrower or passer. But I think that they keep doing this, and they keep tanking and sinking.
All right, Anthony, what's your take?
I agree with if you have two quarterbacks, you really have none. You hear that going around NFL media a lot. But what you say with this not being on Flacco, I 100% agree. I'm a Joe Flacco guy. But once there is a job on the line, like they're talking about with Harbaugh, the first one to go is going to be Flacco, and they're going to try to put Lamar Jackson in, right or wrong, to light a spark.
Yeah, but Lamar Jackson's not going to light a spark. He's
not the answer. Lamar Jackson,
he's going to light a stick of dynamite and blow up John Harbaugh's job.
Tell that to the average NFL fan.
Well, the average NFL fan is an idiot and has no clue what they're watching. I mean, the average NFL fan played Pee Wee or junior high football and thinks it's the same as it was in 1987 when he was on the fifth grade Mighty Midgets winning a championship. But they're fans of arena football, one or the other. What's wrong with arena football? Kurt Warner came from arena football.
Okay, you named one player.
Or they just played college basketball and think they should be on an NFL show. Let's see.
Oh, wow.
You fired the first shot. And then when you talk about people that have no clue what they're doing, John Gruden.
I could say something to that, Mike, but I would just be bragging on myself again.
Oh, he won it. Oh, Anthony, did you know that Steve has a national championship ring? Because if you don't, he can send you a picture to it.
It has nothing to do with basketball.
Then what does it have to do with?
High school football, I bet.
In high school, I was on the Parade Magazine, third-team All-American team.
So you were a high school football player, which I just covered also.
I was recruited by as many college football programs as I was basketball programs.
Uh-huh.
Matter of fact, there were many schools I could have played both sports in. The only one I couldn't was IU, because Knight had gone through that with Clint Buckner and said, you're not playing football at IU. The first coach that ever recruited me, period, was Lee Corso. That I ever got a phone call from a college coach.
Well, all I know is this. When I type in Steve Risley in football, absolutely nothing comes up.
Yeah.
I just bring that up.
Because I never took it seriously. Football was just some reason to go out and hit somebody.
All right. Next up, John Gruden. Number one, I didn't
want to go there.
Go where with what? Show me
film.
Move
on.
Show me film.
Oh, I've got game film.
Well, send it to me. We'll
All
critique it and break it down in an article. Steve Risley, myth or legend? Let's see.
Myth.
The 49ers beat the Raiders 34-3. John Gruden said everybody wants to be a Raider, Anthony. Is there anybody more full of shit in this world than John Gruden?
No, I don't think so. And the fact that he keeps saying this, it's just mind-blowing, especially, if you're an NFL player, why would you want to go to Oakland when everybody knows that 2019 is going to be as much a disaster as 2018 is?
Yeah, because
that's a big reason why that their players aren't playing. They're not playing for their coach. They don't believe in their coach.
Well, see, also you get the problem their players are really bad. So even if their players were playing for the coach, I don't think we would realize it.
I don't think Gruden makes it to Vegas. This isn't the first time I've said it. His body language, you can hear it in his voice. I don't think the second go around is exactly what he thought it might be.
No, I think he is a guy with a huge ego that thought just by being himself and being Chucky that everything would work out fine. We found out that's not, as Nick Mullins threw 3 touchdown passes for the San Francisco 49ers. So, Steve, do you think the 49ers will get ready to get on a roll and make a run at the playoffs?
No, I don't think the 49ers are going any much farther than Oakland, truthfully. They're going across the bridge back and forth between the two of them. That's all they're really doing. Yeah. I think Gruden, a couple things. I think, one, he's in over his head. I think he started listening to himself talk as being a commentator, which I didn't think he was very good at doing that either, truthfully, because he usually just talked about himself, about how much he knew about the game and how he wanted to rip on everybody else. He gets in now and gets behind the driver's seat of the car, and he can't drive as well as 90% of the other coaches in the NFL. And I think within a year, like Anthony said, he's going to be wishing he's back in the booth. $10 million a year or not, he's just going to want to get out of there.
I think the pressure.
You're probably right. I'm just trying to give the benefit of the doubt that he'll take 20 or 30 million from the Raiders before he walks away from it, and then he'll walk away. But Anthony makes a great point. He never makes it to Vegas. He's gone before they even get to Vegas.
And I'll tell you, Anthony, if he really, his goal for this season was to rebuild completely, Khalil Mack would have been gone probably by the time the draft is coming. So would Amari Cooper. So I think he went in thinking he could win with this team, found out he couldn't, and now you just need to cut bait. And the thing is, the way they've done this and the amount of first-round picks they've got is great, and it's a way to turn it around. But I don't think there's anybody in that front office, including John Gruden, that can draft this good enough to get back into contention. There's no Jimmy Johnsons there.
You know, how much of it hurts his ego that the fact that the Raiders were being talked up as Super Bowl contenders, 2 years ago? Carr, before he got injured, was in the MVP conversation.
Yeah.
This is the same team. It's really the same team, if not better, because they had a Marshawn Lynch and not Latavius Murray as their starting running back.
Well, I think this, though. I think the downfall of this team was losing offensive linemen. Because 3 years ago, their offensive line was really good. And they've probably lost most of that line now. And that's the hardest position to fix in football, I think. Next up, we're going to talk about the Atlanta Falcons, who beat the Washington Redskins 38-14. And I think this, Anthony, I think there's going to be 3 teams in the playoffs from the NFC South.
Yeah, from the NFC South, absolutely. And before yesterday, I really thought that the Buccaneers possibly could have gotten something together with that offense. But their quarterbacks, whether it's Fitzpatrick or Winston, they make too many mistakes. The Carolina Panthers, I think they're the real deal. I think they're the sleeper team of the AFC, of the NFC South. And even the Falcons, despite their defense and all the injuries, they're starting to win some games.
Yeah, and they're dangerous. Anytime you got Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, they're dangerous. I could see them easily getting us to 10-6 and being real scary in the playoffs. The Washington Redskins, I think with the Miami Dolphins, have to be the 2 worst 5-win teams I've seen in a long time, Steve.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I don't know how they got there. The Redskins got there to 5-3. I don't get it, but I'm not sure they're going to make playoffs, truthfully, because I don't know that I can say 3 teams are coming out of that division. I think Carolina is a lock. They're playing great football, and Atlanta's surging right now.
Well, in the NFC East, if you're going to make the playoffs, you're going to have to win the division. They do have the head up there, and it's not like – I'm sorry, Anthony – but it's not like the competition's great there. I still think the NFC, Anthony, is probably going to be Philadelphia.
Yeah, the NFC East?
Yeah.
You know, the knock on Philadelphia is their running game. They're not running the ball well like they did last year. They have a lot of injuries, and they brought in Golden Tate to be that short passing, wide receiver running back. He can take a screen. He's led the NFL in yak, I think, for the past 4 seasons since joining the Lions. He's had 90 catches a year since joining the Lions. So that's really what the Eagles brought them in for. But if they can't really run the ball in the cold weather, this really could be the Cowboys division. And I say that as a fan, but I say that with a straight face. Because they might be the only team that can run the ball and play defense.
Yeah, but the problem you got there is this. I think the Eagles can play defense. They're not as good as we were last year. But the question comes, can the Cowboys throw the ball? And in the long run, do you want Carson Wentz or do you want Dak Prescott?
I think we have a lot of those questions answered tonight when we see how Dak Prescott performs with Amari Cooper, because now there's no more excuses. Now you can't make the excuse you don't have a top-end wide receiver. Now you have one. So there's no more excuses for Dak Prescott. It's either make it happen or he can't.
I think he can. I like Dak Prescott. And when I asked the question about Prescott or Wentz, I really have questions about which one is better. Because I really like Prescott. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's more of the quarterback you saw the first year than now. But I still think your biggest problem is Jason Garrett. But we'll talk about that when we get to the game tonight. Next up, the Minnesota Vikings, Steve, have a running game. Dalvin Cook, 10 carries, 89 yards. Kirk Cousins, 18 for 22, 164. Do you buy the Vikings yet?
No. Their defense is solid. They played good defense yesterday. They were sacking the hell out of Stafford. I mean, that poor guy has got to just be sore as all get out today. But I just don't think offensively they're in the level of New Orleans. They can't compete offensively with New Orleans or Los Angeles. They don't have the offensive firepower, and I think they'll probably win their division. But I don't think they're going to be a real threat to either one of those two teams, the Rams or the Saints.
All right. Are they a threat, Anthony?
They remind me a lot of the Texans, the way we described the Texans a few minutes ago. That's the Vikings right now. They're winning ugly. And when it comes time to get into December and every game matters, the fact that they can run the football and play defense, I think that's going to make a difference, especially in the NFC North.
Yeah, I think they're a threat. And I actually like teams that are sitting at 5-3, 6-2 right now that maybe haven't played that well, because those teams invariably, last year the Eagles, they get hot after a little bit of a slow start and just kind of tore everything up. And I think from watching the Packers last night, the Lions, this definitely comes down between the Bears and the Vikings. And I still think with Jordan Howard able to run the ball, the Bears defense is at least solid. I think the Bears could still win the NFC North, and they lead it right now, Anthony.
Yeah, the Bears are playing really well, and they're playing well, especially on defense right now without Khalil Mack in the first 2 games. They're trying to let him get healthy with his ankle injury. When he returns, that defense, they're going to turn it up a notch. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Mitchell Trubisky, he's so underrated, and the underrated aspect of his game is his ability to rush. Going into the weekend, Trubisky, I think, was a number 2 rushing quarterback to Cam Newton. And that's how he's getting it done. When he's not passing efficiently, he's getting the job done with his legs.
Yeah, but we also know this. A quarterback that's usually high in the league in rushing yardage usually doesn't have a lot of success in the playoffs.
Is that a knock on Cam?
No. Actually, I think this. I think Cam looks like he's improved a ton this year. He's still looking to run the ball, but I think he's actually looking to throw it a lot of times more than run it. I think Cam has improved a ton. That's why I think the Panthers are probably a playoff team. But I think this. I don't think Mitch Trubisky is anywhere near Cam Newton yet, throwing the ball or running the ball.
No, absolutely not.
All right, Steve, the Cleveland Browns are now 2-6-1. They got beat again. They got handled fairly well by the Chiefs, 37-21. What was your take on the start of the probably to be short-lived Greg Williams era as the head coach in Cleveland?
nothing's changed. I didn't think it would change. I think that team still has to build personnel, and they've got to mature their quarterback. Did he ever come back in the game?
I think he did.
Mayfield, I know he went out.
42, 297, two touchdowns. He didn't play bad. The offense didn't play bad, but
he's playing good. Yeah, that team is still 2 years away from being respectable. They've got a draft still, and they've got the quarterback position kind of nailed down now. That's good. They got to find a coach, instill a system. I mean, did you really expect them to come out and be different when really they just took an assistant coach from the current staff and brought it on board? And they didn't really change anything. They got rid of the sacrificial lamb who needed to go. I mean, it wasn't that, but nothing changed with that football team. It's not going to change until they get in after the season, hire a good coach, put a new system in, mature their quarterback, and add different personnel. Otherwise, they're just going to be the lowly Cleveland Browns at 2-6-1. Stay where they are.
Yeah, and I think
they're playing the Chiefs.
I don't think Cleveland, the problem is anything other than the coach. And I think when it comes down to it, Anthony, the only way the Cleveland Browns ever change is by getting a head coach that could come in and change the culture.
Do you think it's a problem with ownership as well?
Oh, yeah, it's always a problem with ownership. When you have not had a head coach or a quarterback worth a crap in 20 years, it's got to be an ownership problem also. And when you look at it, you got to get the players in there. And the way it sounds is with Hugh Jackson, I mean, if you just look at Haslam and Hugh Jackson and how they work together, that's not how this gets done. You need to have somebody come in, I think, that can just completely change everything. And the only way you're going to do that is if the owner is willing to allow that to happen. And I don't know if that owner is willing to let that happen or not.
No, and I'm pretty sure the owner is Jimmy Haslam, who owns the Cleveland Cavaliers as well. And we saw how he handles that team with LeBron James and everything else. But for the Browns, they have talent. It's not like they're the Raiders right now. They're sitting in a much better spot. They're a talented team. So I think they can bring in a head coach who can get the job done. I mean, John Dorsey, he's been a pretty good GM with the Chiefs in the past.
Yeah, but
so it's not like they can't get somebody.
You got to remember this, though. The Chiefs' ownership is a lot different than the Browns. The Chiefs' ownership's letting Dorsey do what he wants. The question is, are the Browns letting Dorsey do what he wants? I don't know if they are or not. So, who knows?
I think the sleeper candidate is going to be Josh McDaniels if the Patriots ever let him go, because there is a tie between Bill Belichick and the Browns. The two organizations, they do make a lot of trades and whatnot. I think the Browns' job could be Josh McDaniels.
All right, you heard it here first. The new head coach at the start of next season for the Cleveland Browns will be Mike McCarthy. Write it down. Mike McCarthy and Dorsey have been really close for years, and Mike McCarthy is going to get fired this year. So he's going to need a place to go. I think it would work out really well for him. All right, next up, the New York Jets now dropped to 3-6, which reminds me, Steve, you remember that guy that came on our show from Fansided and claimed that the Jets were going to go 13-3 and beat the Patriots twice?
The one that you had crying, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, Michael Paulus. And I would, if Michael
you got a letter of apology from their website, his website?
Yeah, oh, that was awesome. Because, Anthony, we had this guy named Michael Paulus on, and he wanted to debate me about Sam Darnold and how the Jets were going to actually be a Super Bowl contender this year. And we had him on, and he was a total moron. And then the guy, one of the heads of Fansided, wrote me a letter offering if we ever wanted to have an actual Jets expert on, we could have one of their other ones, because that guy obviously is a moron. But the thing that's funny is I typed in his name on Facebook yesterday because I'm going to send him a message, see if he wants to come on the show. And guess what? The little asshole blocked me.
Really?
He blocked you?
Yeah, he blocked me. But it was awesome. It was one of our most listened to Surviving Advances was Michael Paulus trying to argue with me about why Sam Darnold would be a playoff quarterback this year. And I think we saw he's not. The question is this. Number one, I don't think any of us buy the Miami Dolphins as a playoff team. If somebody does, you can say something, but you'll be wrong. The New York Jets. Do you think Todd Bowles is out of there after this year, Anthony?
Yeah, I like Todd Bowles. I think the players play for him, but I don't see any way the New York Jets keep him.
All right. Yeah, and there have been some weird things that happen with that team. Steve, you think he's gone?
Yeah, sadly, and I like Todd Bowles too. But I think he's just, I think they've endeared too much with him and not improving. They put a lot of stock into Darnold, and I mean, he's a rookie quarterback. He's going to make rookie mistakes. He's going to get better. He's going to be a good quarterback in the league. But I think Bowles probably is at the end of his rope right now, just by attrition. But Bowles is another one you got to throw in the mix if he does go to Cleveland.
Yeah, possibly. Next up,
yeah,
the Carolina Panthers jumped up 35-7 yesterday on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Ryan Fitzpatrick brings them back, throws 4 touchdown passes, ends up 42-28. The thing that stands out to me here, Anthony, is Cam Newton, 19 for 25, 247 yards, 2 touchdowns. More importantly, no interceptions. And more importantly to me, when you look at this, Christian McCaffrey is the leading rusher, almost 5 yards a carry. Cam Newton ran the ball 11 times, but just for 33 yards. And it still comes back to me that Cam Newton rushing for 3 yards a carry tells me that Cam Newton usually was running because he was forced to, not because he was looking to.
Yeah, Cam Newton is playing some of the best football I've ever seen him play, and I know he's had that big season a few years ago, but the difference is this year, the Panthers, they gave him extra weapons. It's not just Greg Olsen. They have Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore, 2 young and up-and-coming wide receivers who are also seeing 1 or 2 touches as rushers every game. And Cam Newton, if you take out week 1, that the season opener against Dallas, he's thrown and ran for multiple touchdowns in every game this season.
Yeah, and then it brings us. Go ahead.
A career low in turnovers, only 4 interceptions and no fumbles lost. Cam Newton historically throws a lot of interceptions. I mean, he's being smarter with the football.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think he's choosing to run at times where he really doesn't have a choice. And when he does choose to run, it makes sense. That brings us to the Buccaneers, which I know we've talked about Fitzpatrick, Winston. Fitzpatrick, 24 for 40, 243, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. When you look at this team, no, the problem's not the quarterback. The problem is their defense is horrible, and especially in the first half. The same thing happened last week. I think last week they gave up 27 or 28 points to the Bengals in the first half. This week they give up 35 to the Panthers. I think defense is a bigger problem than who the quarterback is. I also think head coaching is a bigger problem than who the quarterback is right now, Steve.
Yeah, I think yes, I agree with you entirely. I think the mistake the Buccaneers made was they were going away from Fitzpatrick and going back to Winston. They should have stayed there. I think they were playing better football then. They got away from it. They again, you go to multiple quarterbacks and you see what happens to football teams, and they're done.
Yeah, but you were all for the change. When I said to you and Anthony that I thought Fitzpatrick was better, you both told me I was nuts.
No, I didn't think that. I thought said I'm sure they're going to go back to Winston, and they did, and it proved to be fatal for them because they were hot for a while when Fitzpatrick was playing and rolling, and he had basically the same statistical day that he's had pretty much all season. He has one bad game, and then they jump right back on Winston. And the team just comes apart, But yeah. I want to go back to Cam Newton real quick. We talked about him. You were mentioning Cam Newton earlier in the year, earlier in our show. I wrote down one word with Cam Newton that I think I've seen different in him this year than I've seen in many years before, and that's leadership. I think Cam Newton is showing great leadership this year. He's like you alluded to it, Mike, in the fact that he's making good decisions. But I think that's leadership. That's him maturing, turning into a quarterback. Still 11 carries isn't somebody who, to me, for a quarterback, is not somebody who's running because he has to. He's still running because he wants to.
Their offensive line is not very good, though. And the 11 carries for 33 yards tells me that most of those are probably had to.
I scrolled through real quick, and I couldn't find another quarterback that took 11 rushes yesterday. So he's still looking to run the football.
See, I think
go ahead.
I think that's the way that North Turner's drawing it up because, I covered the NFC South over at Fantasy Pros, and there is not one other running back on that team aside from Christian McCaffrey who gets a touch. It's wide receivers. It's DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. It's Cam Newton and it's Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
C.J. Anderson had his first carry for 0 yards in about 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, he got 1 yard. But, you have four. Samuel, Moore, Anderson, and Armah all got one carry each. Newton had 11, and McCaffrey had 17. So, yeah, you're right there. But I think Cam's showing good leadership, and I think that's making the difference for that football team. The Buccaneers, they need to just pack it in and stay with Fitzpatrick the rest of the season and see what they can salvage out of it. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they'll do better to stay with Fitzpatrick now and just ride him out for the season and then decide what they want to do after the year. If they want to go back to Winston, announce that he's their starting quarterback again for the next year. But I think Winston's a head case. I think he's always been a head case. He's always going to be a head case. And I think they're investing a lot of bad money into him if they're going to keep him, try and make him their franchise quarterback.
I think Cutter went back to Jameis Winston coming off the suspension because he had to. Because in that game against the Bears, when they pulled Ryan Fitzpatrick, he was 9 for 18, 126 yards, and an interception. He wasn't throwing 4 or 5 interceptions like we've seen Jameis Winston. He threw one pick against the best defense they've played. They were looking to go back to Jameis, and it blew up in their face.
Yeah, because remember this also. Tampa Bay is fairly close to Florida State. You got a lot of Florida State fans that are Bucs fans. Mm-hmm. They want to try to keep everybody happy, but in the end, you don't know. I mean, the Bengals game proved it. If Fitzpatrick gets hot, you can beat anybody. If he'd have played a quarter earlier against the Bengals, they'd have won that game. And then they're sitting here, at a 500 record with still a chance. All right, this brings me to something I wanted to bring up. Last night, I'm watching the Patriots and Packers. And the Packers dominated the third quarter. Tom Brady couldn't complete a pass. The score was 17-17. My phone rings at the start of the fourth quarter. It is Steve Risley. And you might think that's probably exciting for you, Indiana legend like Steve Risley to call you. And, it's really not. Because what I get is, I get, I told you Aaron Rodgers was better than Tom Brady. You watch this fourth quarter because, the Packers, Aaron Rodgers is going to win this game.
Is that how I sound?
Yeah.
I'm getting off the radio. If I sound like that.
You sound worse on the phone. But you sounded like a character. You sounded like well, I mean, you are from Indiana.
Okay. Well, Jethro Bodine was from Tennessee. Black gold.
Well, Texas T. All right.
Yeah.
So, Steve, you want to explain to us how Aaron Rodgers outplayed Tom Brady and won the game in the fourth quarter?
He did until the fourth quarter.
Until
it
mattered.
14 points at him and wins the game. So, Aaron Rodgers was fine, 24-43 for 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, just like to root for the underdog.
All right. I don't think
I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan. I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan. I'm not a fan of that quarterback. I think he's overrated. I don't think he's a winner anymore in the NFL. And I think he had his 15 minutes of fame and he's done with. But just
my God, you go from calling me last night. That fourth quarter to you then took Aaron Rodgers from being an all-time great to being some guy that probably his time is up.
I was just trying to get a rise out of you, Mike. That's all. I just get sick and tired of seeing the Patriots consistently win. As much as I respect Belichick and Brady, it's just kind of like how people got about Bob Knight. You just got tired of him winning all the time, so you started to hate him. But he just kept winning.
Well, I'll tell you, the two things that stood out to me last night, Anthony, Josh Gordon, 5 receptions, 130 yards. But on top of that, James White goes out with an injury. The next thing you know, Cordell Patterson, who's a wide receiver, who's always been a wide receiver, is running the ball 11 times for 61 yards.
61 yards.
I mean, he's got a wide receiver that comes in, runs for 5.5 yards per carry and a touchdown. There's no other coach that thinks outside of the box, I think, as consistently as Bill Belichick does.
Well, yeah, Cordell Patterson, he was very versatile coming out of college, a really good special teams player in Minnesota, and he was actually on the Raiders back in March, and the Raiders traded him to the Patriots. And, of course, the Patriots, they're going to get the most out of a player like this. He reminds me a lot of Ty Montgomery back in 2016 when the Packers were utilizing him as a running back. That's really what Cordell Patterson last night reminded me of.
Yeah, but the thing is this, the Packers did that out of necessity because they ran out of running backs. I mean, Belichick, from what I hear, has been preparing him to do this for a while.
Yeah, and a lot of it's because the Patriots, starting out this season, they had Jeremy Hill, Rex Burkhead, and I feel like I'm missing another running back on the roster, and they're all on the injured reserve list. All that's left is Sony Michel, who is still banged up with the knee, and Kenjon Barner. I think Bill Belichick prepared for this so we didn't have to bring in another running back off the street and felt confident enough that Patterson can get the job done.
And that's what makes him better than everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's the true next man up mentality.
Yeah. I mean, he will take. What was the old saying? He'll take his and beat yours, and take yours and beat his. So.
Yeah, and that's the magic of Belichick in his system, is that he prepares for that kind of stuff. Other people innovate it on the spot, but Belichick truly prepares for that stuff, and that's why you get tired of seeing the Patriots win all the time. They're just better than everybody else.
I don't get tired of it. It keeps the Steelers from winning.
That's okay. And I don't get tired of it either. I just say it just.
Yeah, you do. You've said it repeatedly on here.
All right. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Now we're to the part of the show Anthony has waited for. Tonight, the Tennessee Titans will take on the new-look Dallas Cowboys, who will be trotting out Amari Cooper. Anthony, I'm just going to let you talk.
You know, like I said earlier, I'm really excited to see what the Cowboys offense is doing. And I'm a fantasy guy at heart. And coming into this game, Dak Prescott had put together a few games in a row. And just like I said about Mitchell Trubisky, Dak Prescott was getting the job done on with his legs. Now you give him an extra weapon in Amari Cooper. I think the Cowboys should open up the game and take a shot downfield just to keep the defense honest and say, yeah, we brought him in. We're going to use him, and we're going to take those downfield shots that we weren't able to take. One of the best games that Dallas Cowboys had on offense earlier in the year is when they took a deep shot early to Tavon Austin and hit on it. At least if they take the deep shot, whether it hits or not, now they can open up the running game a little bit with Ezekiel Elliott. The other wide receivers on the offense can get involved. I'm really looking forward to see how well this Dallas offense can come together, especially since they had Amari Cooper for the extra week with the bye. And their defense has been playing exceptional football this year. They should be able to dominate the Tennessee Titans offense, who can't really get anything going.
Yeah, but the thing that sticks out to me is this. When I read these stories about how they're going to use him tonight, for some reason, Executive Vice President and COO Stephen Jones stated that the Cowboys have no intention of easing Cooper into the lineup, and they want him heavily involved right away. Why wouldn't they be quoting the head coach or the offensive coordinator there? I mean, why is Stephen Jones even opening his mouth?
Well, because we know the answer is because Jason Garrett's the puppet.
Which is why, even if it works tonight, in the long term, it won't work because the Joneses will blow it up. I think that with your game plan, I don't go out of my way to get him the ball. I think the offense has been a lot better the last couple of weeks because of slot man Cole Beasley. I think he still needs to have a huge part in this. I would, even though I talk about how I don't like quarterbacks running, I would like to see Dak Prescott take off a little bit more here and there just to keep everybody honest. But I think with this offense, with Allen Hurns, Tavon Austin, Deontay Thompson, Terrence Williams, rookie Michael Gallup, you mix this in and you do it right, this could be a really good offense. Steve, what's your take on this?
They're honoring Jason Witten tonight.
Okay. So Steve doesn't have a take on this.
I don't have a take on. I don't care. I don't care about the Cowboys.
Come on now. Now, I think the other thing that concerns me, though, is the loss of star Travis Frederick. Joe Looney, I think, is replacing him, isn't he?
Yeah, but Frederick's been out all season.
Yeah, I know.
He hasn't played yet.
I know, but this is why I think this team's had problems, because you went from maybe the best offensive line in football 3 years ago to not the best offensive line. You got a rookie guard in Connor Williams, who I think has played poorly. And I think all-pro left tackle Tyrone Smith is having his worst season ever. Laleel Collins is still inconsistent. And this all goes back to hiring, Paul Alexander, which they did fire him this last week. But I think there's a ton of questions here on the offensive line for the Cowboys, which is the one thing that made them such a contender a couple of years ago.
No, I absolutely agree with that. And Frederick's loss is tremendous. And you're right. You hit the nail on the head about Tyron Smith. We saw him begin to age last year. It was injuries that kept him out of games. And, he's not young anymore. I think what the Cowboys have to do in the future, perhaps in this upcoming draft, is address his heir apparent. But if the Cowboys' offense can start to gel and get healthier, their offensive line, I think they're going to be a force in the NFC East. Tonight's going to tell a lot of the story. If they cannot handle the Tennessee Titans, they're done.
Yeah, I think they'll handle the Titans. I think the Cowboys
will handle
win the
Tennessee.
game. But
because if you look at their upcoming schedule, their schedule isn't difficult down the stretch. It's really not.
Well, let's look at their schedule. Do you have it in front of you?
I'm pulling it up right now.
I've got it.
Well, Steve's got it. Steve didn't care.
They got to go play the Eagles.
Yeah, they play at the Eagles
Falcons,
and at Atlanta.
Atlanta, it's pretty tough.
Pretty tough.
They got to play the Saints. They play the Saints at home.
That's tough.
They play the Eagles twice. They still have to play the Eagles twice. Well, they got to play the Colts. There's a loss for somebody. Oh, they got to come to Indianapolis too. Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tampa Bay in Week 16. I think they finish up with the Redskins in Week 17.
When you look at this, if they win tonight, they're what, 5-4?
Well, they really have the next 5 games are pretty tough for them.
Yeah, if they're 4-4, they go to the Eagles. I would say they're going to lose that game. I don't think it's a guarantee, but then you go to Atlanta. I think that's a loss. You got Washington at home, should be a win. The Saints, I think, is a loss. The Eagles, you win.
Eagles again.
At the Colts, I think is a toss-up. I'll give you the edge there.
I think the Cowboys win that game.
I don't know. I like Andrew Luck. So you beat the Bucs. I could see him. They could slip 9-7 out of this, but I don't know. I think the schedule's tougher than what you think, Anthony. That at the Eagles and at the Falcons could be a killer.
Well, they have to play the Eagles twice too.
I think they'll beat the Eagles at least once. And the Falcons, listen, the Falcons, they can go either way. The Falcons will either, Matt Ryan either plays really good or he can go out there and lay an egg. And it's all on the Cowboys defense. It's all on that Cowboys defense and how they're going to play. We need to see Jalen Smith continue to emerge as the future linebacker of this team.
Yeah, but when you're playing Matt Ryan in Atlanta, I mean, they did lose to New Orleans and Cincinnati close games earlier in the year, but Atlanta's a team that's been beat to hell, and they're starting to get players healthy again. Julio Jones is getting on a roll. I think it's going to be hard for anybody to go to Atlanta and get a win the rest of this year.
The problem, the thing that the Cowboys have on their side is that the Falcons' defense, they're banged up, and the fact that the Cowboys can run the ball. If you can run the ball and keep the ball out of Matt Ryan's hands and keep the ball out of Carson Wentz's hands, say the same thing about Drew Brees, then it's an open game.
Yeah, but that's any game you play. I mean, I'm a Bengals fan. They play the Saints next week. I could sit here and say, well, if Joe Mixon runs the ball 30 times and runs for 200 yards, they can keep it out of his hands and have a chance to win the game. And that's fine, but there's a better chance that Drew Brees is going to catch on fire at some point, and he's going to beat you. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Cowboys. I still think your problem, Anthony, is the same problem my team is, which is an owner that's a moron. So, in the end, it's not going to work out well. Trust me. I've been doing this longer than you have. No, about the same amount of time, but at least you had Jimmy Johnson for a few years.
Hey, Anthony.
Yeah.
Did you know that I coached Randy Gregory in high school basketball?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he went to Hamilton Southeastern High School where my son went, and he played football there, and he was on the basketball team. He's about 6'6", 6'5", 6'7".
In high school?
And I coached, in high school. I coached him on his basketball team. He actually sent my son into the next county. My son was the scout team quarterback as a sophomore.
Wow.
He leveled my son. I was at that practice, and he killed the poor kid.
You know what? It's really sad, Anthony, when he's talking about his own son getting killed, and then he giggles.
That's part of the game.
See it. He lifted him off the ground, and he went over. And this was the total pre-concussion protocol thing. He walked over to the sideline and sat there for one play, and then got back up into practice and took the team back. When I talked to him when he got home that night, I said, "Were you okay?" He goes, "Okay for what?" He doesn't remember practicing the rest of the day.
Was Randy? Here's a question: Was Randy Gregory? Did he have the off the field issues in school? Is this something that you saw forthcoming?
He wasn't a rocket scientist. I mean, he was academically a little bit of a struggle. I didn't know about the drug issues or things like that. I didn't see any of that. I know his parents, because his mom and dad are both like doctors, I think.
Wow.
They're intelligent. I mean, they're very highly intelligent people. And his dad got to liking me and things, and we were talking about trying to get ways to get Randy to get a little bit more responsible for himself. I never saw the bad problems. He was kind of a goofball kid, but he and I hit it off real well. He was a very likable young man. Very likable kid. I mean, he's soft-spoken. He's not obnoxious. He just finds trouble and gets himself into it all the time. So I know when he was drafted, and then he got caught failing a marijuana test right off the bat, and cost him probably, $10 million in contract money right off the bat. And has been in and out of trouble with the Cowboys since then. But he's a good player. He's a good athlete. Great athlete. He's a very likable kid.
Yeah, he's going to have to really step it up if the Cowboys want to make that run.
Yeah. I agree. And I think he can do it. He's a beast. And I know he's bigger and stronger than the last time I ever saw him. I'm sure the Cowboys have bulked him up like crazy.
All right.
How long? He went to Purdue, didn't he? Didn't he go to Purdue?
I thought he was in Nebraska.
Was it Nebraska? Or did he end up at Purdue?
Anthony.
I'm not sure. I'm not
Nebraska.
sure.
I'm pretty sure he was Nebraska. I don't know why a big-time football player would go to Purdue.
For some reason, I seem to think at some point he left Nebraska and ended up at Purdue for a year. But I could be dead wrong on that.
He can't.
I can't.
I think you're dead wrong. We're going to find out right now. That's why God gave us Google. All right.
Yep. And I probably am wrong. But for some reason, I just thought he spent some time at Purdue. But I could be wrong.
Nebraska.
I probably am wrong.
It is Nebraska.
Okay. Right again. I'll tell you. I get so tired of being right all the time.
That was just a sidebar.
He actually, I think, went to a JUCO at Arizona Western College from 2011 to 2012 also.
That's right. He did, yeah. Which was that team was like a perennial national champion in JUCO. It's a very highly regarded JUCO program, as I recall.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah. I know because we sent another kid there, too, from Hamilton Southeastern High School, who didn't fare as well as Randy did.
Okay. He committed to Purdue, but was
that's what it was.
ineligible and decided to attend, Arizona Western.
Yeah.
Then
that's what it was.
Decided to go play for a college football team instead of Purdue, and he went to Nebraska.
Yeah. All right. I knew Purdue was in the mix somehow. So, see, I'm not totally an idiot. Just kind of.
Okay. All right. Any final words, Anthony? Anything you want to bring up?
No, I'm just looking forward to tonight.
Okay. Anthony's looking forward to tonight. Steve, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I love the fact the Colts didn't lose this week. That's good signs.
Neither did the Bengals.
Yeah, Bengals didn't lose. Well, yeah, I don't care about the Bengals, but the Colts didn't lose. That's good.
I do think the Colts can make. I still think, and I said this every week since I've been on the show. I think the Colts have a shot. I think they have a shot to put it all together.
I said that first. I don't think they really do have a shot.
I don't think they do have a shot.
Their schedule's
too far
bad
down.
enough that they could.
You need to have a little bit more faith in Andrew Luck. The Colts offensive line, they're young, and they're just starting to put it all together. Marlon Mack's healthy.
Yeah, but to make the playoffs, they're going to have to go 7-1.
Yeah, they're going to have to win out. I just don't think it's doable. Their schedule's easy. I think that whole division is in bad shape. I think only one team's going to come out of there now. It's going to be Houston. I think everybody else is going to fall apart.
The question is this.
And
the question is, if the Bengals or Steelers, one of those two fall apart, I think the Colts have a chance to make the playoffs. If you look at the Bengals and Steelers and their remaining schedule, and you go, honestly, games they should win, games they shouldn't win, I think they're both sitting at 10 wins going into their last game against each other. One of them wins the division. The other one probably gets the wild card. Now, of course, I could see the Bengals completely imploding because Marvin Lewis and Mike Brown run it. But if they don't, they get A.J. Green healthy, I think right now you'd be looking at Cincinnati as the 6th seed, probably at 10 wins. But if Cincinnati craps the bed, I think 9 wins gets you in. And then I think it's definitely possible.
We'll know a lot about A.J. Green's health today. I think today or tomorrow we'll get some results. I know he's seeing a specialist in Green Bay on his foot. And anything's open, including surgery right now. And that's going to be a big blow to the Bengals.
Well, no, the big blow to the Bengals is Marvin Lewis as the head coach. Just like the biggest blow to the freaking Dallas Cowboys is Jason Garrett's the head coach. And I'm trying to get Anthony to understand how doomed that makes these two teams, even though they're our favorite teams, Anthony.
No, I mean, I understand it, but at least I like to keep optimism.
Hey, at least you don't have to. Well, see, that's the other thing. You've seen good stuff in the past. I haven't. Since 1991, my team has always sucked. So, at least
Anthony,
I'm not a Colts fan.
I understand the Cowboys are wearing a rare color combination in their uniforms tonight. What are they doing?
I actually did not see that yet. I saw the report, and I didn't even get a chance to open it up.
I can't because I have ad blocking on my computer because I don't want all the damn ads. It's from the Dallas newspaper, so it's not letting me pull up what the article is. But it says Cowboys to wear rare color combinations on uniforms tonight. Because they hate wearing their blue jerseys, don't they? They're always wanting to wear their white jerseys.
What are used to? I don't think that's as much a big deal anymore, though, is it, Anthony?
I can't remember the last time I saw them in their blue jerseys.
No, it is rare. It is rare.
It's rare, very rare. It's kind of like Notre Dame wearing their greens.
It is going to be blue jerseys tonight. So, they don't like to wear blue jerseys.
Yeah, they don't, which could be a bad thing.
It's going to be blue tops, white pants for the second time in team history.
Wow! So they're not. So
they better win tonight with this uniform change.
Hold on. Is it the old dark blue they used to wear?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. They're away. Their home jersey. The NFL changed it around. It seems like the teams are wearing white at home now.
All right. The other time. Well, you got a choice if you're the home team. But the other time they wore this.
Yeah.
Was 2007, December the 10th. When they defeated the New York Giants 30-10. So they're undefeated wearing this combination, Anthony, so you'll be all right.
There you go, Anthony.
Take any advantage into this I can.
I still don't know why it's a headline story, but all right. All right, guys.
I just was reading Cowboy News, and it said they're honoring Jason Witten with a big sign on the stadium, and they're wearing a rare color combination on their uniforms, which I figured was the blue jerseys. So it's the new look Cowboys.
All righty. Well, we're going to wrap the show up for this week. Tomorrow you can catch me and Steve talking a little college football. Anthony, do you like college football?
I do, not as much as the NFL. I really get into college football at the end, and then I'll start paying attention to the incoming players.
Yeah. All right, so tomorrow around noon, 1 o'clock, somewhere around there, you can hear me and Steve talk about a little college football, Alabama, Notre Dame, Michigan, Clemson, the 4 top teams. Who will be the 4 top teams tomorrow night when the announcement comes out? What teams to look at? Any possible upsets coming? And can anybody beat Alabama? So make sure you check me and Steve out tomorrow on Survive in Advance for that. Wednesday night, we do it on Indiana Basketball Weekly. Wednesday night, Steve?
Definitely. IU plays basketball Tuesday against Chicago State.
Oh, yeah, that's
right. It will actually be their first official game of the season. So college basketball kicks off this week. Most of the big teams are playing this week, and most of them have played an exhibition game by now. But
we got Duke and Kentucky tomorrow night, which means it's my favorite time of the year because it's the time of year where Christian Laettner hitting that shot in '92 will be showed repeatedly, and I know it makes all Kentucky fans puke all over themselves. So, Anthony, you're not a Kentucky basketball fan, are you?
No.
Okay. Well, it's good. At least you have some common sense. All right. Also, Wednesday night, me and Brian Schmidt and four-time CFL Grey Cup champion Robert Drummond will be on to preview all of the CFL playoff games that will be coming up this weekend. So make sure you check us out there also. You can hear all of our shows on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Anthony Cervino, of course, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.